Everything's soaking wet. We've been having showers for the last 3 days. I'm going to do a quick walk around and show you some highlights of the garden at July the 4th, 2019. Plantings are doing well. Well, I've been checking these every day. This is the first time I've seen a slug on one of those. When I start to see the slugs, I'm going to make a bear trap this year. The cabbage plants that I put around the fox willow, they look like they're going to do very well. This little red cabbage down here, he was just a little tiny guy when I put him there. Can any of you identify this tree for me? It's a willow of some sort. Here's the catkins right. I'll put my hand behind it so you can see it better. The catkin right there. I'm going to tend to this one, I think, and let him grow good. My old strawberry plants, they're coming back very well. Just as they have the couple that are still struggling from whatever happened last year. The strawberries are growing now. In a week or two I'll be harvesting strawberries. I need to move my asparagus, I think. I think the ground is too wet. These have been here now for 4 years. And those two are getting up there. There's one here that's still really small. And there's one over there that's a little tiny thing. So I'm thinking I have to take them out of there and move them to a drier location. This is the fall planting test bed. The parsnips are coming along well. And I told you in an earlier video that I had 4 beets, but over right there, there's another beet. So that's 5. The carrots are up really nicely now. If the rest of my carrots were up like this, it would be nice. I'd be able to weed them out good. Now, there is something though that seems to be kind of strange, and that is this. Why is this turnip plant growing tall like this? Is it going to go to seed? Well, we'll find out later in the season. Here's what the carrot bed is looking like. You can see here's the little carrots here. Most of the carrots are up, but they're not very big yet. Now this is the reason why I decided that I have to make this video, because this is what your plants will look like when you let your rutabaga go to seed in the 2nd year. They grow quite tall with the regular flowers. Any of the brassicas, they put out the flowers that look pretty much the same. And in the next couple of days I have to put some stakes around, because when these go to seed, the weight of the seed, they'll just fall down. They get in the way of walking. They'll grow just fine. The seed will be good, but then they're in the way. This one here now is already starting to lean over. But as you can see, the pods are growing. And here's the plants for beets. This is my first year, so I don't know if they're doing good or not. I don't know what they're supposed to be like. My beets, the seed that I planted, is kind of sporadic. There is quite a few spaces there. So when I thin the beets out, I might try to, well, I will, I'll transplant some over and see if they continue to grow. But they're all up very well, even better than the carrots. As for cabbage and broccoli and whatnot, as I've been saying, I've had trouble getting them to grow. Now I have this one red cabbage here in this bed that seems to be growing well, and the rest of them are pretty much just sitting there doing nothing. Here's the kale. I mean, he's just a little tiny thing. The kale now looks healthy. Maybe they'll take off the ones. The overwintered kale, they're all gone to seed. So, I don't know. I consider that not to be a good idea to overwinter them if that's all they're going to do the next year. But with respect to cabbage, I planted a bunch out in this bed. This is the bed that gets practically no direct sunlight. The red cabbage, in my opinion, is doing excellent here. And as I go down the line, all of these plants, some of them are cabbage, some of them are broccoli. I didn't label them, I just had a bunch of plants that I put in here to see what they would do. And until you get right in underneath the spruce trees here, then all of them seem to be doing well. But the ones even in here, they're healthy. So we'll see what happens when the weather starts to warm up. Our first hot day is forecast for Friday or Saturday. But now here's a beauty. This is underneath the pear tree, which is on the west side of the maple tree. That's a Chinese cabbage. And the broccoli, growing really well. Now the marigold that I put in here, it's growing well. And I had this on a video when I put them in there. This chamomile was just a little tiny speck of a green. I'll take that one out of there. This is the most abundant weed I have. This arrow leaf thing. Since I was right beside it, I'll tell you now. This is one of the gojis that I put in, and I was like, is it going to grow? But these here darker green leaves on top, that's new leaves. It's put out new leaves down here, and it's putting out another shoot from the root right there. So this one is taking hold. This one is still sitting there just like I planted it, so it's not showing signs of settling into its new location yet. But look at this. Now this is the firecracker goji that I got from Vessie's, and this is what is growing from the roots so far this year. So it's, don't have my measuring tape, I don't think. No. quite a bit that's grown over the season. That's going to be quite a tall plant. This is the other firecracker goji underneath the maple tree. It's not growing as fast, but it's doing well. With respect to beans, this is my first year growing beans, as you might know. These are the ones that I direct sowed. They are Jacob's Cattle baking bean. This one I started inside. While he is still ahead of these other ones, I'm thinking the other ones I direct sowed might catch up to it. There's another one I started inside. And another one. I have potato weed growing. This is carrots in this bed with the beans. You see the dark red. So this is a red potato. This is my other bed where I have Jacob's Cattle beans planted. And it was where, this rough area here, this was where the Myrobland cherry plum trees were growing. These plants, that's mustard. This is a first year experiment thing. I just took mustard seed from the spice cabinet and set it. I sowed it indoors and then transplanted them outside. And I have quite a few plants here that seem to be doing very well. It's another red potato weed. And this one, this is white potato. I need to harvest my rhubarb again. This will be the third harvest of this one. This year I need to, I want to dig this up and separate it and get more of this variety growing, because I haven't touched that yet this year. So it would be nice if I knew the varieties and exactly why that patch is growing better. Then I could tell you. But right now all I can tell you is there are different varieties of rhubarb. Some grows better than others in our climate. Potatoes, they can grow almost anywhere. And they're tolerant of many different conditions. However, if you do put them in fertile, loose soil, they will grow better. So these are up like this. Those I put in several days later in the video where I was doing my last plantings just a week ago. Here you can see a difference right away. Those over there I've covered with a bit of soil and they came up faster. There is one coming up here. And the bed next to it, you can't see any potatoes, but they're all just barely up out of the ground. They're growing there. And over here, they've been planted much earlier. And they're sprouting. A lot of this greenery is the arrow leaf plant and the lemon balm, which I've been telling you about. Getting rid of that now will be practically an impossible task. Go down to the next bed, and there Most of the potatoes are up, but very small. And they've been planted weeks before that first bed I showed you. I got distracted as we were talking about the beans. This bean is Soldier. So Jacob's Cattle and Soldier were planted both in the sunny plot, and Jacob's Cattle is doing better. I'll swing around here to this other bed, and this bed needs some more amendment. As you can see, the weeds are still more weeds than there is plants, but the beans are not doing as good in this bed. Now then we come over here. These are black turtle beans. They're doing poorly growing. This bed, we're in what I call a shady plot, but this bed gets a lot of sun. And then we go further into the trees, and this gets a lot less sun, and they're just starting to come up now. The onions that I set from seed. Now this is where I planted the Walla Wallas, and I said I didn't expect them to come to anything. However, there are some that are alive, and we'll just have to watch them through the season and see what they grow to. This is where I planted out that head lettuce that a neighbor had left packets of seed for me, and they are coming up here. So there are the occasional Walla Walla onion growing throughout this bed. The red spring onions, on the other hand, now once again I don't know what they're supposed to look like when you're growing them from seed, because this is my first time growing them. But every one of them are still alive and growing. See, that's how tall they are. Red spring I got from Vessey's, and this is the shallots I got from Vessey's. Don't remember the name of the shallot now, but these are the shallots that I set inside and put out as transplants. And here are the rest of them, because I couldn't finish them off in that one bed. And I don't know, I think they're growing beautifully here. The weeds are growing so fast, I've been weeding out, and you come out in 2 days' time and there's more big weeds. Now as we go down this bed, these are the ambition shallots here that I set direct sowed, and they're up that high, so I think they're going to do very well. The biggest problem with the amount of weeds in this bed is that I also have carrots growing from where I had grown seed here last year, so I had to be careful in my weeding, and I couldn't weed out the little tiny ones. So when it dries out in the next couple of days, I'm going to come back and weed this bed again. The herbs, I wanted to come here and show you because we had that abnormal dip in temperature during the winter. Echinacea, that survived just fine. The chamomile's putting on flowers now. So this I just broadcast sowed in the fall, which is basically what you can do with chamomile anyway, because it is a self-seeding annual. French thyme. It's already to a zone 4. So you would think it should have survived. But our cold snap was in early, well, the 1st of January, when we didn't have much snow. So this plant, there's nothing coming back from the roots yet either. It looks to be completely dead. This one, there's greenery out here, so that's still alive. This is green lemon thyme, but it's already to a zone 3. So it wasn't hurt. Tarragon, that's already 2 lower zones as well. Now sage, this is purple sage, and I have garden sage there. That's already to a zone 6, but yet it survived. The purple sage survived, not winter gone, the winter before. Garden sage is already to a zone 5, and that dip in temperature in January killed this one. That one over there is smaller because it really had trouble the year before. So with respect to sage, I'm going to have it there growing, and if it survives, it survives. If it don't, I just replant. That's kind of the ideal with pressing the boundaries of what you can grow with your growing zone. And I'll stop that for here now with showing you this. I said that this tree didn't look like it was going to produce this year, but then it did come out with some blossoms. There's not very many, but I may get a few apples off this tree this year. And that'll be it. Rhubarb is a good understory plant, by the way. It can grow in very deep shade.